so much for raising this. Baswati, do you want to comment on some of this? Because you are running a series of classes on women's health.
Yes, we are. And we are trying to teach women to look not only at their lifestyle, ahara vihara, the lifestyle and the food, but also to look at Oshadhis and to use some of these Oshadhis. One of the great things about having these students that I do from all around the world is that many of them have very easy access to lab tests, which we don't find that many of the patients do in India. And I know Dr. Palab certainly has access to lab tests in Bombay, and I think probably in Chennai and some of the other big cities, it's not difficult. Certainly when I was at BHU, we would easily test people. But the question is, do they want to participate, and how do you frame it to them so that you get informed consent? Certainly for something like Garbhapali Rasa for fever during pregnancy, you could actually take blood from the placenta, and because it's not a blood draw on a woman, it is taken from the placenta right at the time of birth. It's very easy to do studies on the placenta. And in fact, the woman that is the doctor that is co-teaching the courses with me, the Dhatu of Woman, which we are doing this next month, she is a MD Prasuti Tantra, which is an MS here at STM College. And Dr. Chandani has been looking at the placenta and looking at certain markers that are in the placenta. And I just wonder that why the doctors who are looking at doing studies don't understand that we don't need randomized clinical trials to produce evidence. What we need is a series of cases that are well written that show a mechanism of action, not in the biomedical language, but in the language of Ayurveda, explaining logically. We don't need to explain science with a capital S. We need to explain science with a small s, which is the yukti, the logic, the way in which a woman who has rakta dushti, what does that mean in translated terms to English, not to translation to allopathy. And if we can use certain parameters of testing and then just show 3 cases, 5 cases, we can take medicines like Garbhapalaras or the GV Deepanam that he was mentioning, or many of the other recipes that are formulations that are made. Yeah, and so my point is that we don't need clinical trials. We just need to do case series. Yeah.
Thank you so much for I just want to bring a few other people in here because we are touching some very, very important areas. I feel selfishly for this because I would like very much the Ayush Valley to be catalyzing this further and to grow this further. Jammi, you have some thoughts before that? Before I bring Sajikumar, because I see you nodding your head there. Sajikumarji,
I agreed with what
you agree. So we would love yourself, Dr. Palab, Dr. Baswati, to all be part of a new kind of discussion that we can evolve into this whole area. So I want to bring Sajikumarji. Sajikumarji, would you have some comments on this, on what we are thinking here, questions about blood samples and rethinking how Rasa Aushadhis should be understood, particularly Rasa Aushadhis, but also the whole area of clinical trials. What can CII do to enable more activity? You are very active in CII. We've known each other for over 10 or 11 years now. I still feel CII could do much more in this space, because they have a lot of funds, they have a lot of resources, they have a lot of connections into the Ministry of Commerce in Delhi, but I don't see this aggressiveness from our part, which we now want to convey from the Ayush Valley. We want to be aggressive in this space because we feel we are missing global opportunities. I want to bring, so Sajikumarji, your comments, and then I want a few words from my co-moderator, Hari, on this talk too. Please, Saji.
I believe we should be lobbying about in other countries. I think
are we doing enough?
I think we should be doing some kind of seminars and bringing in the authorities, regulators, from the authorities from the other countries.
Are we, Saji, my question is, are we doing enough?
We are not doing enough.
We are not doing it. I want to stop you here because I want to bring Derek from South Africa. Derek is joining us from South Africa. Derek, hello.
Hello, everybody. It's been.
Thank you for joining us from Pretoria.
Durban, South Africa.
Durban, sorry. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Thangavelu, for bringing me into this wonderful. I'm particularly interested in Dr. Sajikumar's remarks and the creating of a global scenario, more especially outside India. If you look at Africa, where your market is now, I should think, the use of medicinal plants as a fundamental component of the African traditional healthcare system is also perhaps the most and most sorted of therapeutic systems. The trick here, I would think, would be the efficacy. Now, we own an Ayurvedic clinic in Durban. My wife is an Ayurvedic doctor, called Kerala Ayurvedic Center, in the last 12 years. And we are bombarded with efficacy, efficacy, efficacy. Of course, we now know that the World Health Organization is now helping with its laws of now investigating that efficacy of plants both in the Africa and the rest of the world. I'll stop here.
Thank you, thank you, Derek, for joining us. You see, you have a collection of friends here at the Ayush Valley and here in India, and we are all with you to guide you and help you with whatever you need. I want to bring in Dr. Karthikeyan from Chennai. Karthi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Karthi, please introduce yourself. Karthi is an ENT surgeon, and he works primarily as an ENT surgeon and studied in Stanley Medical College, Chennai. Several years ago, he completed his MD, and he has a very vibrant practice in Chennai. And Karthi's passion is Ayurveda and Siddha formulations for autism. And he, over the last 20 years, you recognize Jammi, you recognize who Karthi is, and he runs a very large organization called DOST, and DOST has been using Siddha formulations in particular for autistic children. Karthi, please do guide us a little bit where you think we are doing right and where we could do better and where we are completely off the canvas in terms of it.
One thing is like, I would like initially to, take a path which is not of confrontation and proving ourselves that our metals are safe or organic. So we need to, deviate from that path and then write on safe medicines initially, make inroads, and then once the mainstream medicine realizes that we have tools to deal with areas which they are finding difficult to treat, then we can have our say. That is going to be my approach, which is more a integrated approach rather than trying to prove the supremacy of either Ayurveda or Siddha. We have to shake hands with them, and then maybe we would go to a platform in which they will realize the importance, and they would refer their cases to us, and then the fight will be over, and that is the era I think we are going to run into post-COVID.
Karthi, thank you so much for adding. I know you're very passionate about Siddha formulations and Siddha approaches. We'll bring you back. We are very fortunate today to have several MDs, and we have Dr. Palak, we have Baswati, we have also Daniela Passani joining us from just outside Barcelona in Spain. Daniela.
Hello.
Daniela.
Hello, madam.
Daniela, lovely to have you here with us. Greetings from the world to Cardedu in just outside Barcelona. Thank you so much for joining us. You are an MD, you work with Ayurveda, you believe in Ayurveda. Are some of our comments correct?
Yes, of course. Ayurveda in Spain is not really accepted as such a medical system, and also what you are speaking about rasa substances with metal preparates. This is impossible in Spain to introduce. Yes.
But I'm happy you are I'm happy you are here with us, and you can hear where our discussions are going and where our emphasis, what we are trying to convey. So thank you so much for joining us from Spain. Please stay with us, because we have, I also want to bring in Gayatri from Germany. Gayatri, before I have you, Gayatri, I want Hari Kumar to convey a few thoughts. Hari, because you work in that whole area of public health, you work in the area of mental health, and you worked in Germany, you worked in Amsterdam, you work in India.
Thank you.
Where do you think our discussion is it too diffuse? Is it focused enough? Could we do better?
Yeah, Dr. Madan, I would rather say we can find a focus here, saying Ayurveda documents the history of pharmacy. Say the very basic pharmaceutical forms which we use are the juice of herbs or the paste of herbs. So these pharmaceutical forms are global and could be used in any parts of the world by anybody. So now we are speaking about the globalization of Ayurveda pharmaceuticals. When we take Ayurveda pharmaceuticals across borders, as Dr. Damle said, we need to have in place evidence, published papers. We have to go with regulations, documentations, and everything which is fitting for these reasons. Whereas the dissemination of knowledge, that has already been happening all across the world. That is why an Ayurvedic doctor from Spain or Ayurvedic practitioner from Spain is taking part here. Yeah. Or from Germany or from many parts of the world. We can all sit together and talk about Ayurveda. So that is going everywhere, and that mode of making medicines from herbs, that dissemination of knowledge, that has already crossed borders. But Dr. Madan, you have pointed out something very important and brilliant, which is in the first 10 or 20 global players, we don't have a representation.
Yes.
We don't have even 1%
Yes.
there of the total stake. That should also happen. So we need a focus from Dr. Damle and all these pharmaceutical industrialists working together closely with Ayush and all our research centers and institutes do phytochemistry, and Dr. Jammi also has been doing phytochemistry and pharmaceutical chemistry. You can say. There are global institutes of pharmaceutical chemistry where our graduates who are interested in these fields should do their research. And I think all these should happen in a very few years, and then it will culminate to this end as well. So that is my initial response to that.
Thank you, Hari. I want to bring, yes, thank you. Dr. Damle, Rishikesh, I want your thoughts. And
yeah, first thing, if you take the list, most of them are monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies are $1,000 per dose. You know, that is the kind of pricing what is there, and they are supported by public funding in UK or insurance in the US, and it's a big lobby. It's I mean, don't take me being pessimistic. I don't think we can reach that top 20 from Ayurveda soon. It looks very, very difficult, because if you look at some of those products, total India's prescription industry may be smaller than them. So it is a tall task, but then having said that, we should try to reach somewhere. So at least in 20 or 30 years, we'll reach there.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishikesh. I want to bring Gayatri Puranic. Gayatri, let me introduce Gayatri a little bit. Gayatri is part of the Puranic family, the Dupapeshwar family, and Gayatri lives in Heidelberg in Germany, and she runs her own small distribution activity, very passionate about Ayurveda like the rest of the family. Gayatri ji is also a board member of the German umbrella organization for Ayurveda. Gayatri, where are we missing out? And Gayatri has been following very closely the recent discussions and documents coming out of Germany for Ayurvedic products. Gayatri, please.
Can you hear me?
Very clearly, thank you.
Okay, yes. Very happy to be here and to listen to all the different people and the different views coming in. I appreciated the Dr. Saji's explanation of how Ayurveda is to be seen and the difficulties in the manufacturing sector. He made a very important point. Ayurveda is all-pervasive, is all-inclusive, and which is why it is extremely difficult to have a common goal. Since I come from a family that is also manufacturing basmas and rasa preparations, I'm well acquainted with all the products and their safety and the JAMA article, etc. I've kind of taken all that with me. But in Germany, as you said, I have a small distribution business. And why is it small? Because on the one hand, Ayurveda is so magnificent. And on the other hand, we need basics for our health. And the basics which are there in Ayurveda, those also need to be paid attention to. The government of Germany, or let's put it this way, 2 authorities have come up with a position paper on the classification of Ayurvedic products in Germany. They have also established that Ayurveda is vast, Ayurveda is deep, and which is why you cannot have one particular measure to measure all Ayurvedic products. They have put on paper in black and white that all Ayurvedic products will be examined on a case-by-case basis, and we cannot have one standard measure to either discard or allow an Ayurvedic product. And I'm talking about products. I'm not talking about medicines. Right, so I am still at this base level of Ayurveda, not on the higher medical level of Ayurveda. What we do need here, as Dr. Damle also pointed out, the regulations are the way they are. We have to live with them. That's the reality of the day. And what we do need about the herbs is just information that establishes their safety. The first point is safety. Since most of these herbs are not known in the European Union, what they do need to know, are they safe for consumption? And let me use this opportunity to make a point of mentioning amla. Amla is one of the most sold Ayurvedic ingredients in India. And amla is on the EFSA, European Food Safety List, as a novel food. No, sorry, let me correct that. It's not a novel food, but it is only allowed in food supplements. And we are in a catch-22 position with amla in Germany. I don't want to go too deep in that. It gets a little technical, but if we could just prove that amla is safe as a food as well as a fruit, we would be making great inroads with amla in Germany and in Europe.
Gayatri, so, you have raised,
yes.
You touched a very important point. I want to bring Sajikumar. Sajiji, please, I don't know if you heard Gayatri's comments. And I also want to bring in Rishikesh, because Rishikesh, he says he has a presence in Germany, is one of the fastest growing non-German group in Germany. So Rishikesh, after Saji has made a comment on amla and safety issues that Germany is flagging?
Thanks. I think Dhathri Ayurveda, she was there in our Global Ayurveda Summit also. She made a very good comments there also regarding the products to be taken to Germany. So I just want to have 2-3 comments on these areas. One is, see, safety, efficacy, purity is the responsibility of in the people who are working in the healthcare, because we have the responsibility to make sure that our products, even if it is drug formulations, or even if it is any kind of healthy foods, nutraceuticals, anyway, I think we are having the responsibility to actually take care of the safety, efficacy, purity parameters. And second, definitely earlier mentioning about the trust factor. See, we have almost 5 lakhs practitioners of Ayurveda in across India. If we can make 10% of the practitioners as research scholars, give PhD to these 10% of the Ayurveda practitioners in the drug research, as well as into in preparing the standard protocols for at least like what our Dr. Valithan is telling, select some 50 disease, which could which can actually manage infectious disease as a non-communicable disease, and also some areas where we can intervene in the public health area. Select some 50 disease and do the protocols for 50 disease and do the drug research. I think if you can convert 10% of the entire Ayurveda practitioners, definitely we can bring a huge change. And another area, whenever, I think we should try our level best to take formulations to all parts of the world. But at the same time, I think if we can actually export raw materials as drugs, and make combinations in all the other countries, it doesn't make an issue, so that we can export Ayurveda doctors with Ayurveda knowledge and medicines in all the parts of the world. How China could actually transport or export TCM medicines in all parts of all the world. I think we should start with exporting quality raw materials, and we have to take these raw materials there and doctors there and start practicing. We can make decoction there. We can make any products and make sure that the products which we are exporting from here, which has we have the responsibility to make sure that it has safety, efficacy, and purity. So I think once we do that, everything will be easy, and followed by, I think we can take formulations also there, because we get disciples there. We get more people coming under Ayurveda, so that they will believe, they become the ambassadors, they will take Ayurveda to the entire globe. This is my comment.
Thank you, Saji. I want to come back to you, but I want to bring Rishikesh here. Rishikesh, what is your feeling about all these things? And
Gayatri ji, namaste. I think I met you in Berlin last time when I visited. There is a sloka in Sanskrit. Yatha simho gajo vyagra bhavet vasya shanai shanai. Basically means if you have to tame an elephant or a tiger, you have to do it slowly. In Germany, they have brought in new rule. I know about what she's talking about. There are 3 categories at which you can sell your product. And sometimes you don't need to have an obsession that your product has to be called as medicine. There's one segment wherein you can have your product as a food supplement with a claim, but it costs around 100,000 euros to registration with some safety studies, etc. So you have to follow that. If you follow, even Amla can be registered. It can be done. Unfortunately, no, every country wants to make money. Every country wants to have their own restrictions, and they have done it. Even for former speaker, what he said, in Dubai, in UAE, in Australia, they have prohibited from mixing the raw materials. You cannot mix raw material. They have brought in even that separate licensing for that. So everybody is seeing how they can stop, spurious traditional medicines coming in, and we are in the crossroads. So that's what exactly is happening. And so it's only slowly, as some other speaker told, slowly we need to convince. See, I met an insurance person of Germany, and because he had psoriasis, he used our medicine. He said, if I approve your drug, for insurance, probably insurance company will save a lot of money because we spend a lot of money on monoclonal antibodies, IL-17 inhibitors. So we have to bring in, and it will happen slowly. And now world is uniting.
Can we do anything more as a group here? Is it something you can guide us in?
Definitely. We can see, basically people have to be made to understand that you don't need to have obsession as a medicine. There are many other ways. I will tell you, there are some very simple ways to register a product in the FDA without much difficulty. We can talk privately about it because, you know, if the authority comes to know, they will block that road also.
Thank you so much. Thank you
for example, if you can import anything to Netherlands, it can go to every other country in Europe. And rules in Netherlands are very, very, very easy.
Now I have another question. Where did you learn your Sanskrit?
I'm an Ayurvedic doctor from Coimbatore. I studied in Coimbatore Ayurvedic College.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Rishikesh. I want to know if Dr. Baswati has something to add, and we have several other people here I would love to bring into our discussion. Baswati?
Well, the first thing is that when we talk about these top 20 drugs, which was the conversation about 10 minutes ago, I just wonder why we are trying to compete with a group of people without speaking about the monoclonal antibodies and the dosage costs of those. When you give someone an Ayurvedic drug and they are cured of a disease that would otherwise have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in surgeries and follow-up, we have spent, let's say, 1,000 rupees to give someone a rasoshadhi for the next 6 weeks and it cures them of a problem, then that cost is never calculated. The cost of wellness, the cost of evading disease is never calculated. So when we talk about the dollars of, you know, the top companies, we need to remember that Ayurveda understands wellness as the best medicine, right? We all say it, but then we don't include it into the health economics. Why? Because it's not vogue when we're trying to look at costs and competition. So I wanted to make sure that's known. Also, I think Dr. Jammi, and hello to you from Coimbatore also. Dr. Jammi talked about the FDA registration, how there are so many different avenues. The people that know how to do it. Anyone that knows what the ODL is knows how to register products. Anyone that knows Health Canada and their reciprocal agreements with the UK, Australia, and the US knows how to register products. We have so many Vaidyas in the USA who are selling huge lines of medicines. Most people also don't know that if you're a doctor or a Vaidya practicing, if you make your own medicines and hand them to your patients, you're exempt from all the laws. So what we're talking about is large quantities of products for sale to random other people who would buy them, not a doctor giving medicine to her patients. The last thing is that the way in which you educate the doctors is so important. Doctors in India do not get educated how to speak properly. They are not articulate for the most part. They go to the US and they make complete nuisances of themselves. I saw one recently on an international platform. They don't understand how to speak about counseling versus practicing. If you are going to follow the regulations of a nation, whichever nation we're talking about, Germany, USA, Canada, South Africa, you have to follow the regulations, but there are loopholes. And people who work in Gurukul or one-to-one with a practitioner learn how to manage those loopholes simply because until Ayurveda is acknowledged, we need ways to help heal the patients because that is the currency that we are running with. You know, I do care a certain amount about profit, but I really, really am not trying to become a millionaire. I am trying to heal patients of diseases, and that is not being calculated in these numbers that you're presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Baswati. Thank you, Baswati. I want to bring a young person, a young student from Jaipur, Aditi, who's here with us. But before I do that, I want to get some feedback from Gayatri. And then I also see Dr. Vincenzo Valenzi joining us from Italy, from Florence in Italy. So before I go to Vincenzo Valenzi and then to Aditi, Gayatri, your opportunity to just see if you agree with what Baswati ji is saying and what Rishikesh has just offered us.
Yes, regarding what Dr. Damle, Rishikesh Damle said, Yes, it is. It is true that in Germany, I mean, the insurance companies would save a lot of money if we had good Ayurvedic products, that the Ayurvedic products are expensive to register. It is possible.
Is this dialogue with the insurance industry, is this happening, or is it yet to happen, or is this something that needs to happen?
It needs to happen, but I don't think it is anywhere on the agenda. You do need to be able to lobby.
You are part of the German umbrella. You're a board member of the German umbrella organization for Ayurveda. Is this on the agenda or not, or do we have to do it separately?
Right now, it is not on the agenda of the.
Thank you. I think Rishikesh wants to add something.
Yeah, right now, if a patient is hospitalized in Germany and a doctor prescribes in the hospital, it is reimbursed by insurance.
Okay. Is it for all the insurance companies in Germany? Would you know that?
Oh, I don't know about it, but because I know that there are many who are prescribing our products in the hospital, it is reimbursed.
Thank you so much, Rishikesh, because you brought a very important point. We'll continue with this discussion. Aditi, before Aditi joins, Vincenzo Valenci. Vincenzo.
Can I just finish?
Please.
Yeah. Bhaswati also brought up a good point. I would also suggest, and Dr. Saji also mentioned academics. I would really request and suggest that Vaidyas in India, maybe they could get an orientation of what the global world is like, what the different countries were, that if Ayurveda had to be practiced somewhere else, what are the other points and factors that they need to take account of? I mean, speaking to a client who's not, or a patient who's not Indian, but in a different setting is just one part of it. But the lifestyle that...
Yes,
Pardon?
correct. I understand what you're saying. I want to bring, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, because I see Hari Kumar nodding, because he has worked in Germany. He has worked in Castrop Rauxel. He has worked in different other places in Hattingen. Hari, please enlighten us on this thing about where we are lacking in this dialogue. No? Your experiences are very rich.
Yeah, Dr. Madan, this is a very interesting question. I will say first I would like to say the merits of the Indian Ayurvedic practitioners or Indian doctors in general. See, as much as I understand, the Indian doctors are considered to be the best in practice. I understand there are certain pitfalls in their communication skills. There may be certain lacks in the terminology which they have been using, or the techniques, or accepting technologies, or following the guidelines of the respective countries where they are in. So these are things which could be trained even here in India before they go and they start practicing somewhere else. So that is number one. Number two, I would say, when we say, having said that, I would say, see, look at the Ayurveda training institutions in every other part of the world. Are they having sufficient infrastructure as the Indian institutions have? They don't have. They have the status of a therapeutic center or maybe a good Indian hospital, but they don't have the infrastructure as one of the Indian Ayurveda colleges. So what we should, as a practitioner, I would like to say is, we need to have a finishing school. We need to have a finishing school, of course, for those who have already finished, but to give them, impart them training in all these kind of etiquettes, registrations, code of conduct, how to speak, or how also being culturally sensitive. A simple thing I would point out: if you ask somebody their religion or their spiritual orientation, or even the simple Indian question, are you married? That knocks out your total credibility as a medical practitioner. Most of our doctors or even Ayurvedic practitioners, I'm not sure they know this before going to start their practice somewhere else. So I think I have been taught by the field, because I have been starting to teach international students from the formative years. So I have learned it the hard way. But I think this could be trained, and Ayushwali has a big role, Dr. Madan, in all this.
Thank you for mentioning. This was what I wanted to get to. We will discuss this offline. Thank you, Hari. We'll come back to this. I have here with me Binoy. Binoy, I would love you to share a few thoughts here, if you can, because Binoy is also an MD. He works with several groups in Kerala.
Sir, good evening, sir. Actually, I just came home and I saw that it was in the at 4:30. So I was thinking that I was late.
Thank you.
So
You know, you want to,
I didn't listen to
we'll give you some time to catch your breath so that you can share a few thoughts with us. And I want to bring Aditi, the young student from Jaipur. Aditi, do you hear some of the comments that are being made here, Aditi, and how to train young students for the future? Aditi has completed her final year in Ayurveda. She studies in Jaipur, and she has been very critical about how students are trained in Ayurveda. Aditi?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling me upon. And I was very glad to be hearing everyone's comment, and they were wonderful. And I'll say I strongly agree with Bhaswati ma'am's comment that we need to bring in various cases instead of going into like emphasizing that this is the molecule which is working, and all those division which we are implementing even today. Like this is biokinetics, biophysics. I mean, don't get me wrong, but Ayurveda is Ayurveda. Ayurveda doesn't elaborate about biophysics and biokinetics. It works upon the very basic.
Thank you. Aditi, are you saying there could be much more that students can have in terms of training, in terms of clinical skills and training? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, first of all, we need, as in for mostly for all the students, they must be introduced to the real Ayurvedic practices which are going around, which are not even known to many of the students. Okay. Unless and until a student steps out from the boundaries of their colleges, they don't even know how many Vedyas are there across India or even in their neighborhood who are actually practicing whatever is said in the Samhita word by word. Because what we are taught at times is this is something not possible. Although Acharya has written such a thing, but this is not applicable in modern world. We have to modify it. We have to use these formulations or that formulations. We can't use it as it is. So that is not made like aware to the to all the students.
Thank you, Aditi. This is the student's perspective. I would love some feedback from Hari Kumar and also from about this specific topic, also from Sajiji, about the students' complaint. The student is saying we don't get enough guidance and practice. We are not inspired by our teachers. What do you think, Hari Kumar and Sanji? Because this touches the very heart of clinical practice and how we are going to promote Ayurveda globally. And I think that's a frank comment made by Aditi from Jaipur.
Yeah, Dr. Madan, I would like to tell you, see, I have been an alumni of the Government Ayurveda College in Trivandrum. I will not say, frankly, 100% of our teachers were inspiring, but I would rather say at least 50% of our teachers were truly inspiring. They have been very good clinicians. They have shown us the way how Ayurveda works. And that is also the confidence and the result which you have been pointing out when we were talking informally. Someone is representing Ayush systems at the WHO from Government Ayurveda College in Trivandrum. Dr. Saji is sitting with us, and there are many, many names which I can say. The similar stories with Ayurveda College in Coimbatore, where Dr. Damle has been trained. By way, I will pay all my homage to late Padma Shri Dr. Krishna Kumarji for this brilliant work which he has done in his life for bringing Ayurveda forward for all these years. But I accept what Aditi said. I hope you have read The Polemic by Jean Langford. I will say she has written a brilliant book, but I will say it's a polemic on Ayurveda, saying all what is being taught in Ayurveda is mimicking the Western notion of medicine. Yeah, Jean Langford. So, Jean, it sounds similar what Jean has written. Jean did her ethnography in Mumbai. So I'm not sure whether in many Ayurveda colleges across the country, you lose some real strong foundations of the real sense of Ayurveda, and you just subscribe to modern medicine or views of modern medicine and you practice it. So there has been two streams in India, the stream of the purist and the integrationist. If you read Charles Leslie, the medical anthropologist who wrote extensively on these two traditions and their inter dialogues, the stance of the purist and the integrationist. So this discussion is all even now happening. Exactly our discussions are happening between the purists and the integrationists. But my point is, we should go in all directions. The purists should follow the purist path, like the Ashtavaidya traditions, for instance. Yeah, they should follow their own path. Or people who are doing pure Ayurveda, they have all legitimacy and right to do it in their own way. But for medical research and bringing out medicines, which also means bringing development to our nation, it should also happen from Ayurveda. We have been mentioning about the artemisinin story. Some such stories also should come up. And Dr. Damle and all these pharmaceutical experts, Dr. Saji, everybody, Dr. Jammi, young minds, and this will happen. I think all these research houses, they are all working on it. And as Dr. Saji said, a very interesting and valid point, from the Ayurveda college itself, we should have a training cell to train those researchers. Young minds who are interested in research, they should go in that way. Those who are interested in medical humanities, like what I did, they should go in that way. And those, so Ayurveda is all pervasive, and so it should progress in all directions. We cannot say that Ayurveda don't need biophysics, Ayurveda don't need microbiology. No, we need all of them. We should have overarching bridges to all these streams of tradition of sciences as well, to develop Ayurveda further. That's my comment.
I guess this is central to improving quality and standardization and all those themes that we are talking about here, to bring those new sciences into Ayurveda without losing the spirit of Ayurveda. I don't know if Rishikesh and Sajiji want to add to this.
I would like to add to this. See, while integrating, we have to keep the purity and pure. One of the biggest mistakes we do is trying to translate. For example, trying to translate Rakta and blood in ground. Rakta and blood have overlaps. But Rakta is not blood. Blood is blood, Rakta is Rakta. So we should be a little careful while integrating. We have to retain the purity of Ayurveda when we talk in Ayurvedic terms. But meanwhile, unless we integrate, we cannot look at the other world.
Thank you so much. Sajiji, I don't know if you have, and Narasimhaji also, whether you have something to add in this. Yeah. Because I feel a little, we are in a very select group here, because all of you seem to have come out of one medical Ayurveda college in India. All of you seem to have come out from Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum. Is there something, except Jammi, of course. No, but there are a lot of people here who have come out of Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum. Is there something that teachers do in your college that we can take to places like Jaipur, where students are saying they don't get the kind of excellence in teaching that you have in your college? Yeah. Sajiji.
It depends. That is, see, across India, I think different institutions have different models. But what we have to do is we have to look at the larger purpose and larger cause. If you're looking for one health system and one nation, and wherein if you have that kind of a vision in 2030, and if you want to make a mainstream Ayurveda, and if you want to make Ayurveda as a parallel system and not an alternative system, definitely the overall our esteem or overall our respect towards the science goes up, where it will percolate to into the institutions and all the areas. So let us not work on constraints. Let us not just say that Ayurveda college, you just do this and that. Apart from that, we have to see the larger course where our doctors are actually treating as from a perspective of a mainstream medicine, where under one roof, which is not called as alternative medicine, just parallel to the mainstream medicine. Then I think the college activities, the institution, everything will be taken care, and you could see much better facilities and best facilities will be happening in all the colleges. In all the colleges, it will be happening. And don't worry, Aditi. I think in future you can see that all the colleges in India will be doing fantastically well. And what I support what Hari said. I think we should have some kind of a skilling center or finishing school for the present doctors, those doctors who are not got the opportunity to get maybe all the 360-degree exposure to, like maybe some of us got in many colleges. I think that maybe we can actually provide, or we should work towards that, to have such kind of activities of some kind of finishing schools. That's my comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Saji, before you go away, before I bring Narasimha into this conversation for just some feedback, because he has seen good schools, good universities in America, could you give us a little more, because you've touched on a very important point that Hari has also said about these finishing schools. Could you give us a few more ideas? I'm looking at it again from the perspective of the Ayush Valley Foundation, about what this finishing school might have. Is there something that you have thought about already? Can you tell us a little bit more?
The finishing school, it is the gap which like Dr. Basudeb Bhattacharya also said, and there are gaps with the doctors in many areas. Maybe it could be in the communication, soft skills, or maybe in handling patients, or there could be different areas, maybe within the science, maybe talking the science, communicating the science. And regarding maybe from different colleges, they are not getting exposed to many of the clinical practices. So I think we have to do a survey and map out which are the gaps with respect to the doctors pan-India. I think the gaps which are seen in Kerala may not be the gap which you maybe see in Rajasthan, or maybe that you see in Uttar Pradesh. So I think we have to map all the gaps and come out with a curriculum, so that how we can actually come out with it.
Thank you. I think Aditi is already in the process of documenting some of this, so this is a discussion we can have offline. Jammi, would you like to add some ideas here on where we need to go for the future?
I think it'll be very broad in my opinions. I think we need to be bold. We have to be like Star Trek, go boldly where no man's gone before. We got to say, you know what, the system works. Don't be shy. Just say it, and then you have the proof. I mean, you've got centuries, millennia of proof, and then we're also evolving. We know how things work, right? That's point number one. And also, don't be defensive. Right? If someone says, "Oh, it's Ayurveda that's got some side effects," challenge them. Right? Challenge them absolutely. Because you've done your homework. You know exactly what they're talking about. Challenge them if you're going to get into an argument, there's nothing wrong with that. And because you're doing this for the edification process. You're not really trying to pick a quarrel here. 3, make sure that you back up what you're saying. Do not be didactic. Try to get your point across by having a lot of textbook references. Make sure that you understand what you're talking about, and then you're not bullshitting your way through.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we have been online now for 2.5 hours, and I would like to draw the formal part of our event to a conclusion. And Hari Kumar, I'm going to leave the conclusion to you yourself. But before I do that, I want to take a moment just to remember Krishna Kumarji, who is no more, passed away on the 23rd. His birthday was on the 23rd of September. That was a few days ago. He passed away a few days before his birthday, and it is a big loss for the community. So to the family and to everybody at this amazing institution in Coimbatore, we convey our condolences and we convey our respects. And it will be a person that we are going to miss very dearly. And we hope that his spirit has enthused all of us to do something bolder and greater and larger for Ayurveda and for the ancient Indian sciences. It will be very difficult to replace Krishnavarji and the work that he did. Listening to his family members say he was a one-man institution, and what he has done for Ayurveda in Coimbatore, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, in India, and globally. And it will be difficult to use, to replace somebody like Krishnavarji. So from the community here, that is my closing words, remembering Krishnavarji and the work. And he leaves us with a challenge here to take forward what he has done in Kerala, in particular the work of Care Kerala, which has brought together almost all the institutions connected with Kerala under one umbrella. And like a banyan tree, Krishnavarji grew all of us. And like the roots of the banyan tree that is now on the ground, we are all those roots. So Krishnavarji is no more with us, but the spirit remains, and the banyan tree has expanded further and wider. And I hope we will continue the spirit. Harikumar, before I conclude, may I have the opportunity to just put one more slide up for all of us to just comment on and to thank to point to our next event on the 4th of October. Here we are. I hope my screen is up there for all of you to see. On the 4th of October, Dr. Baswati will be with us on, Dr. Baswati will be with us on her new series on called Ayush Hard Talk. Dr. Baswati will be taking on a very challenging question: why this conflict between modern medicine and Ayurveda? And shown here the speakers. It's still a very early draft of the program. Some of those names may change with time, but certainly some of them will be with us. I stop here. I leave it with Harikumar to draw this event to a close. And we still have many participants with us. So our normal format is that we bring the program to a close, formally thanking everybody, but we will continue to be online for those who want to stay with us. So Hari, all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Madan. From where you have stopped, I will pay all our respects and regards to Krishna Kumarji. I remember his kindness. I'm a practitioner. After having done my master's in Germany, I decided to come back and live in a village which is in central Kerala. Dr. Krishna Kumarji somehow followed my master's work and invited me to do a presentation in Coimbatore. So I wrote, your eyes were following almost everybody in the field of Ayurveda. So all our respects and our prayers to him. And as you said, through our work, he should live. And to conclude, Dr. Damle did a brilliant presentation on COVID-19 and exactly the opportunities and challenges. He also presented on the clinical trials on some of his products, which were going through, including indications on their method, the pharmacological action. And that was very brilliant. Dr. Saji emphasized on reverse pharmacology and also a parallel path which Ayurveda should follow. And he brilliantly indicated the global presence of Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is all pervasive. Dr. Jammi has done brilliantly on Rasa Shastra, and he has been a very hard hitter for Rasa Aushadhis, and which Dr. Bhaswati also explained brilliantly in between. There has been a very good discussion from all our panelists, as well as those who shared their insight with us. So it was a very nice discussion afterwards. So we have been going through, as you said, without knowing the time for more than 2.5 hours. So I would like to extend our thanks on behalf of Ayush Valley Foundation to Dr. Majid, Mr. Benny, and also Yadu, who has been behind all these efforts, and also all the office bearers of Ayush Valley Foundation, not to speak of Dr. Madan, who is the main central pole of this foundation, the international president, and also all those panelists as well as participants who were present. This was I will say this will spark several interesting points for our journey ahead. We touched upon the importance of clinical research. We touched upon the importance of the pharmaceutical research on Rasa Aushadhis, on globalization. Even to conclude, on the final talk, we even touched upon the finishing school idea. So it was altogether great from all these discussions. Thank you everyone. And I think like the Stammtisch in the German way, when we used to finish our seminars, we used to go to a nice restaurant nearby, and the professor will sit together with all the students and will continue the discussions to deepen whatever has been discussed in the seminar. So similarly, we have a Stammtisch with Madan, and possibly Bhaswati will join us. And so I invite all those who would like to stay on for the Stammtisch. So thank you all. That's all from me now. Namaste.